Gina Argento, Bogdan Bakarowski, Lisa Bamonte, Gina Barros, Keon Brooks, Eric Brusitis, Tom Burrows, Iris Cabrera, Bill Caponegro, Frank Carbone, Stephen Chesler,
Yeah.
Michael Chiricella, Teresa Cinciata, Giovanni D'Amato,
Here.
Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Dibidowski,
Aaron's here.
T. Willis Elkins, Julia Amanda Foster, Chairperson Fuller,
Yeah.
Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross, Katie Denny Horowitz, Sonia Iglesia, Moisha Indig, Ozena Kaminsky,
Present.
Ryan Coonan, Joel Landau, Marie Leandra, Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeever, Sante Michelli, Toby Moskowitz, Martin Needleman, Rabbi Niederman, Karen Nieves, Mario Damaruk,
Here.
Janice Peterson, Dana Racklin, Ella Sable, Isaac Sofer,
Here.
Robert Solano,
Here.
Del Teague,
Here.
Tommy Torres, William Vega,
Here.
Maria Vieta, Stephen Weidberg, Simon Weiser.
Bogdan Bakarowski is present. Good evening, everyone.
Lisa Bamonte is present.
Willis Elkins too.
Katie Denny Horowitz also.
Tom Burrows is here.
And Gina Barros is here.
Eric Brusitis is here.
$18 members answering the call.
Thank you, Jerry.
Bogdan Bakarowski is present.
Thank you, Jerry. The first item on the agenda is New York Department of Transportation. Is there anyone here to present on that item?
Yes, we are here. Rhonda, did you want to say anything first?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had trouble unmuting. Just to introduce Laura Martin to make the presentation for the Graham Avenue Broadway Flushing Triangle. And I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Am I able to share my screen? Let's see. Okay. And everybody can see the screen, right? Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Lauren Martin. I'm a project manager within the pedestrian unit at the New York City Department of Transportation. And tonight we are bringing to you a design proposal for the intersection of Broadway at Flushing Avenue and Graham Avenue. So a little bit about the exact area we are looking at. There have been previous community and NYPD requests for safety improvements at the intersection of Broadway and Flushing, including Graham. The project area is a very vibrant, bustling area. You have the three major corridors, mixed commercial and residential use, multimodal transit hub with several trains and buses and many other uses around the area, including the hospital And you also have, this is at the end of the Graham Avenue bid. So major reason why we are here is the safety data at this location. So all 3 corridors are Vision Zero priority corridors. There have been 2 pedestrian-specific fatalities, one in 2014 and then again in 2021. And you can see the specific locations in this diagram here. However, there are also other severe injuries at this location as well for both bicyclists and pedestrians. So now we're just going to kind of go into a few of the existing conditions and kind of really dive deep down underneath the elevated train. So as shown on the map before, this is without the train blocking it. Here is Graham Avenue, Broadway, and Flushing. The main issue that we have been able to see here is that really Flushing and Broadway is the signalized intersection. And although we consider Graham Avenue to be part of the intersection just based on proximity, it is not part of the signal. So that means that that crosswalk is uncontrolled, meaning pedestrians have the ability to walk at all times. There is no pedestrian signal holding them based on the signal at Flushing. So kind of what condition that leads to is these left turns westbound from Flushing Avenue. They have a green light and are turning, and this is now a recessed crosswalk, which means the pedestrian is not necessarily looking for the driver is not necessarily able to see the pedestrian, and it creates very unsafe conditions. This is also a very wide slip lane here, and multiple vehicles make a very soft turn, turning on from Broadway onto Graham. And you can see here in this picture that somebody going around another car, there could definitely be visibility issues. There's also, we've seen some other pedestrian desire lines, which makes sense when you see the subway stairs here, and there's no direct path to accommodate. So now we're going to go through kind of the proposal that we have. And real quick, just to remind you guys all of our in-house project toolkit. So these are the types of things we are able to do in order to try to really improve this intersection, and things like the concrete sidewalk extensions, traffic regulations, markings, but also street furniture like the bike racks, planters, and city benches. So real quick, just back to the existing condition. And here is our overall proposed design, but we'll go through each element. So first we would be removing the existing concrete triangle and a bit of the existing northwest sidewalk there. And this allows us to then widen this, the slip that is currently there, which is actually very narrow, and we can then widen it to 35 feet wide. And that allows us to close this southern slip here with a concrete sidewalk extension, therefore allowing everybody to turn as if it's like a regular side street onto Graham Avenue. We're also looking to build a concrete sidewalk extension at the kind of wonky corner of Flushing Ave and Broadway, where we are looking to upgrade those ramps to ADA and also just clean up that radius. And then we are also looking to flare all of the crosswalks, just like we did back in 2018 to capture the Woodhall side stairs. We will be looking to do the same for the other stairs on Flushing, as well as people trying to go directly north onto Graham. And then lastly, since there is an existing bus stop here, we have been in communication with MTA and working with them on kind of the best way to improve this bus route. So the current proposal is to combine the B57 stop that exists in front of Woodhull Hospital and to allow the B43 to stop there. This way, traffic can just turn onto Graham and flow, and there is no issue of the bus needing to stop, especially with the double parking sometimes in the moving lane. And then just a quick proposed rendering. Here's the kind of existing conditions. This is Graham Avenue looking south onto Broadway. And with our proposed design, as I said, we would be looking to kind of get this part of the intersection actually away, since it is a separate intersection that's not signalized. We are working with the bid to really figure out the best way to utilize that space and see what planters and bike racks and possibly city benches that we can locate. And real quick, the benefits, you get shorter, safer crossing, widen the crossings as well, improving accessibility and really trying to clarify the different vehicular movements in this area. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Lauren. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, this is Rob. I have a question. Incredible presentation. Our office has been there for 10 plus years. My question was, any consideration of just creating an entire pedestrian island like was done at Wyckoff? That had some resistance in the beginning, but over the years, I really seen the incredible value of just cutting off that traffic completely and then moving the traffic over to make the turn on Manhattan and then come back onto Graham on like Manhattan and Cook to go around it. A little bit like what they did on Wyckoff and Myrtle, like diverting the traffic around it and creating that like pedestrian island. Was that considered in this plan?
Yeah, so we have looked at several different, reroutes of things, and this was kind of the best option in order for both pedestrians to have everything that they need, but also you do have the bus lines. And we were looking to reroute those, but we were again working with MTA, and even with, any, future going forward thoughts with that B43, they still really need to make that turn onto Graham and to access the businesses along Graham, especially starting at Debevoise going north. And there's also a fair amount of trucks here as well, so we had to take that into consideration as well. So this was kind of the best option in order to still allow vehicular traffic to function in this area and also to give pedestrians as much space as possible.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair, this is Willis.
Okay, I'm looking for hands. I don't see any.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Still getting used to WebEx. The question, was there any coordination with DEP and their green infrastructure unit to install green infrastructure, given there's a large amount of concrete being poured here?
So we have been working with Con Ed. Actually, there is a lot of utilities directly under here, and that does make it difficult for us to plant anything in the ground just because there is, DEP infrastructure, Con Ed vaults, and things like that really make it better for us to try and get the raised planters in partnership with the bid. There's just a little bit too much constraints on where you can place green infrastructure and street trees, and it's just there's not much left for it when you take into consideration everything underneath.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you, Lauren. Have a good weekend. Happy
Thank you.
Passover. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Easter. Holy Week. Thank you so much.
Chair Fuller.
Yes.
Madam Chair, did you take attendance?
Rob Solano speaking.
No,
Tommy
that's
Torres.
the other Spanish guy, Tommy Torres.
¿Cómo está? Buena, buena.
Who asked that we take attendance?
Kwame Torres, presente.
Why do you ask we generally take attendance before we start the meeting?
Just letting you know I'm here, Madam Chair. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on. Next item on the agenda is a request for determination of the Board of Standards and Appeals. Is there anybody here to present on this item?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. This is Paul Prue. I'm land use counsel to the applicant, 25C.
Thank you, Paul.
Good evening, everybody. We're here to request your support for an application to the Board of Standards and Appeals to continue construction on a hotel that is substantially completed. You may be aware that in April of 2018, some 4 years ago, the City Planning Commission adopted what is known as the Hotel Special Permit in manufacturing districts. And pursuant to that new set of zoning rules, hotels that were under construction were required to finish construction pursuant to the permits that had been issued prior to December 20th, 2021. And barring issuance of a certificate of occupancy by that date, such hotels, such partially completed hotels would need to apply to the Board of Standards and Appeals for vesting approval. And that's what we're here to discuss tonight. There are two ways to vest under the rules that apply here. One is a statutory requirement that dictates that you apply to the Board of Standards and Appeals within 1 month of the effective date, which was December 20th, 21. And the other is the common law approach. And we are here on a common law application. Common law, as you probably know, is the law that is developed over the years by judges in courts, and by issuing decisions, they create precedent. And pursuant to precedent, the state of New York has a rule that says that if you have applied for a validly issued permit and received it, and you have started construction, you have you've made substantial expenditures pursuant to that validly issued permit, and you have made substantial construction pursuant to that validly issued permit. And if the city of New York were to stop you from completing that construction, there would be substantial financial hardship. If you meet those three findings, you are then allowed to continue construction. So I would like to show you here, if I may share my screen, a presentation that shows you the property we're talking about and demonstrates how we have met those three findings, which are the same findings that we will show to the Board of Standards and Appeals to seek their approval. So do I have permission to share? I don't think I do. Is there a technical person available that can facilitate that?
Yes, you do have permission.
Okay, so I'm pushing the share button.
Okay.
Perhaps this is my own system preferences that I have to adjust. Sorry, I think I have it under control. Just a second, please. Okay, let's try this again. I'm sorry, I can't seem to make this work. I have issues with my own system preferences, it seems, but I can't seem to get over the objection. There are two of my colleagues that I believe are with us tonight. Would it be possible to enable them as presenters and allow them to share their screens?
What is their names?
I'm joined by Nicholas Liberis and Dawson Stelberger.
I do not see them here. But if you cannot get it to work, what you could do is send it via email presentation, and it could be forwarded to the board members.
Yeah, I did that previously. Maybe I could just walk you through the presentation verbally and see if that raises any questions or issues. It's not as pretty, of course, but what we're proposing here is this is on a large lot, and the lot is located at the intersection of Stewart and Flushing Avenue. And it's a corner lot that has been empty of any buildings for a number of years. It's accumulated garbage and has essentially been a wasteland. So we have purchased the property.
Excuse me, Paul. Excuse me, Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
Please put your camera on. It might help us better if we can see you, if we can't see the presentation. Thank you.
So, hello. So in 2015, 25C LLC, which is the entity that is run by Dawson Stelberger, who is a developer that works primarily in this portion of the neighborhood in Bushwick, and occupies a number of, or owns and runs a number of buildings that are commercial in nature. He is one of the few people out there that are developing new buildings and extending, enlarging existing buildings for commercial use. So for those of you who appreciate industrial retention issues, this is one of the few people out there that are doing that kind of work. So we purchased this undeveloped site with a lot of, with decades of junk on it, cleared it, and began excavating it well, we bought it in 2015 and with approved plans, and went to go and modify those plans and start excavation, and did so prior to the special permits being enacted. And the special permit allowed, or prior to the special permits in action, we had a 2.0 FAR on this very large development site of 22,000 square feet, again at the corner of Stewart and Flushing, with a large dog leg extending to the northwest, above or next to some railroad tracks. And so the plans that we proposed to the Department of Buildings and received approval for included a 3-story base that is fronting Flushing Avenue, and that then sets back to a 9-story hotel, which is approximately 200 feet deep along Stewart. And so this space would include a small community facility, at the back of the building, an event space at the front of the building, and approximately 80,000 square feet of floor area, and a number of hotel rooms, which I will tell you shortly. So as the deadline for construction of the hotel moved forward, we increased our construction and poured cement. And in the end, the relevant numbers here are that we completed approximately 75% of our excavation, with one area. I guess the other part of the story that I failed to mention is that this was an environmentally contaminated site. And so the hot spot that we have not completely excavated yet requires dewatering and environmental remediation to a deeper depth than the cellar of the building. So we are doing that to both clean the site and make it safe for the public. We have completed 100% of our support of excavation work, which involved bracing the building, underpinning the neighbors, and essentially creating the forms for our foundation. We have completed 76% of the remediation work scope, except for the part I mentioned earlier. And we have completed 78% of our foundation footings. And again, there's the central area where the hotspot, as we call it, where we have some additional square feet of cement that still needs to be poured. We have completed 60% of our foundation wall, which in total is a 70% of total foundation completed, poured. In addition, we have the 8-story building that I mentioned, and we have completed 540 cubic yards of cement, representing 3 full stories, approximately 50 feet by 50 feet at the south end of the building. This is a building that will meet high levels of environmental standards relative to green technologies and LEED. And it is a building that also improves the environment by remediating the soil. So generally, we believe it has a positive effect on the neighborhood, and it is in an area of the neighborhood that has been underdeveloped and will have, we believe, a positive reception to activation, essentially meaning that the corner is a dead corner at the moment, and by building the hotel here, we will activate the corner with new active uses, bringing life and vibrancy to that corner. So we'll present this same presentation that I'm not presenting to you at the moment to the Board of Standards and Appeals. And when we do that, we'll ask them to allow us to continue construction of this hotel because, as I have just explained, it is substantially completed relative to construction and substantially completed relative to the costs. So I apologize that this is not a better presentation. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the technology here, but I'd welcome your questions and comments.
Thank you, Paul. Is there any questions? Tom, you got your hand up?
Yes,
Tom
I
Burrows,
do.
you got your hand
Yes,
up?
I do. Your Honor, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, this started off with a whole discussion about common law with one attorney in the courtroom. There's nobody presenting the case from the other side. I don't know what it is that we're supposed to do, but we as a community board have been opposed to these as of right hotels being built in industrial zones. I suspect that this is in the IBZ. It has like no purpose or use to being within an industrial area. I don't know what tourists are going to go there. My suspicion is this is going to be built and immediately turned over to the Department of Homeless Services to be used as a shelter. substantial. There's no building. There's a foundation. He's talking about like an 11-story building. There's not one story built. How is that substantial? I don't know if we're supposed to support this, oppose it, what it is we're supposed to do, but it sounds like a slick way to get around the push that we made to have that special zoning requirement that hotels just can't be built willy-nilly wherever they want to put them. So I don't know if Dell is here. Is this a land use thing? Does this go to the land use committee? Is there something we can do? It just sounds like, this one-sided story, 3 points. The guy is presenting his own point of view, but no other point of view. I don't know if Evergreen's been a part of this or anything else. It's like, what is it? What's the point? Why is it being presented to us? What are we supposed to be doing? Do we vote for it? Do we not vote for it? I don't get it.
This is Dell. I am here, and my question was going to be about the fact that he did not mention that he would be coming before the Land Use Committee in May. I understood that he would have to come back and present to the Land Use Committee, and that we would vote on a recommendation. Am I wrong?
When we file an application, we're required to put you on notice, and normally when we do that, the community board refers it to the Land Use Committee first, and then after presenting there, it goes to the full board for a vote, where we don't really present. The committee's recommendation is usually adopted. And so if that's not what's happening here, I don't know what the explanation is, but we're happy to present again or whatever. But what we're asking here relative to Mr. Burrow's question is simply we're putting you on notice. We're letting you know that we're doing this, and we're asking for a resolution and support to continue construction on this property. The common law issue is, an issue of law. It's under state law. We're allowed to continue once those findings that I described have been met. And if we don't continue, then there'll be a substantial loss, and the state law allows us therefore to continue. So.
Well, okay, so Del Teague again. We've had these applications in the past, and in my experience, they came first to the Land Use Committee, and we would make a recommendation. We would listen. First of all, we would like to see pictures, and I think to me, you need to be able to show pictures of what you've done, and so people get a good, clear idea of what you've done so far. And yes, there is a determination which we have the right to look at, and we can recommend that whether we think you really have complied with the standards of substantial compliance or not. And then in my experience, then it goes back to the full board for a vote on the recommendation. And that's what I expected would happen here.
Right. So we're happy to try again on the technical aspects of the situation here. I'm not quite sure how to overcome that at the moment, but I'm sure we can figure it out. And then procedurally, we'll need to be invited, of course, but if you invite us, we will gladly come and present again.
You are invited. Consider this an invitation.
Okay.
Does it need to be in writing?
Well, no, but I think
It's our
there's
normal course of business.
yeah. Well, you'll just I think if you inform your staff, it'll probably happen.
Yep, they're here. They're informed.
So shall we consider this tabled then until we can make that presentation to the committee?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it will be on the agenda for the May Land Use Committee, which I believe is May 2nd. Joanna, am I right on that? I believe it's May 2nd.
It is May 2nd.
Yes, and you will be on the agenda, but I mean, Chair Fuller will make this determination, but we usually allow other members to speak tonight and give the land use committee some sense of what questions and what ideas they would like the land use committee to explore.
Yes, it will go to committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Paul.
You're welcome. Steve Chesler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for the well, not the presentation, but for speaking to us about project. Yeah, a couple things, that worry me is, just a location of a potential hotel here. What the ramifications will be for this immediate neighborhood. Just kind of transporting what's going on like on Wythe Avenue to this area. I don't know, it just seems, I don't know, precarious to me. But as far as the environmentals, it's very troubling that so much foundation work was done and yet the remediation is not finished. But, I mean, was this a brownfield? Was a voluntary cleanup program? Or?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and so, is there some? Is there going to be a sub-slab barrier put in place and a depressurization system? Love to, I guess before the land use committee, it'd be good to have a copy of the environment, if you went through OER or DEC, the notice and just a summary of what was involved in remediation, because going, I guess, below the water table, I mean, that's, I don't know, that's something eyebrow raising, that's for sure. Yeah, and I'm just looking at the, I emailed the board your presentation, and there's this huge, I don't know, I'll call it a flap that's extending above the roof line. It's just a skinny little flap that's just kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. Is that going to be for billboard or sign purposes, or?
No. No, I'm not quite sure which design feature you're speaking of, but there's no sign here. And
well, up on it's slide 3 of the deck. And if you look on the right, there's just this huge skinny extension going up above the roof. It just looks, I don't know. But that's, that's aesthetics. But yeah, yeah, I'm just wondering why. I mean, you kind of gave a quick, pitch for why we need a hotel in this area, but I really love to hear from the locals how they feel about it. Just seems troubling to me, just to bring in kind of a wild nightlife scene, and yeah, tourism could infuse some, financial energy into the area, but that has kind of really negative ramifications. So, thank you.
thank you. We will take those comments and respond to them the next time we meet. We do have, I'm receiving texts that indicate that my colleagues are ready to present this, if you wanted to try to allow them on again.
How long is your presentation?
Well, I think really we just need to show you the pictures.
How long is the pictures, how long is it?
If you give us 5 minutes, I think we could probably.
Do the board agree to continue with the presentation, the visual? Does anybody have any objection to continue with the visual? Okay, Paul, go ahead.
Again, I need you to.
Madam Chair, I have objection.
All right, so then let's just do it the next time when we can start with a fresh.
Who is the individual on your staff that has the presentation so we could bring him in?
Nicholas Liberis.
Joanna?
I am looking.
The second one, Nicholas L.I.
That's him.
Okay.
He's an attendee versus a
I-
participant. Yeah.
Yes, I just made him
That's right, we'll bring him in.
okay, and I'm gonna pass the screen over to him.
Hey guys, thank you very much. The only thing is, can you actually switch me to the other, to the one of me, because I was having issues getting in here. So if you could switch to the other me, that's the laptop. So Nick,
Sure.
thank you. Okay, great. Okay, great. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Okay, so the subject project is out on Stewart Avenue and Flushing Avenue. Steve, this thing that you were mentioning, this big billboard looking thing, we have designed this project now three different times. The previous owner, Joel Goldman, had asked us to set something up for like a rooftop party scene, which is no longer contemplated in the same way. So this was going to be something where we were going to be projecting films basically to the back side of this element, but that's no longer the plan. So the most recent design, which we're not showing yet because it's still being cooked, takes this piece entirely out. So what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to emphasize the city views, which were formerly being. Oh, you're looking at my folders. Okay, hold on. Give me a sec. How do I do this? Sharing. Okay, is that better? This is better, right? Okay, great. Thank you, Paul. So yeah, so this element, Steve, will be coming out, and it's just going to be a very flat rooftop now. So what we've tried to do with this design, and also with the other designs for these hotels, is have these kind of porous areas that kind of invite the population in. So this is very much of a kind with everything that's happening in the neighborhood. It's very socially oriented. There's a big emphasis on having the local maker culture feel like right at home here. So this is something that we think is going to be from the street a very substantially positive addition to the neighborhood. As you guys are very familiar with, undoubtedly, this is a very trafficy street right now. So right now we're at the north edge of this very active area that starts by Wyckoff and then kind of heads south. So there's more stuff happening to the north, and we feel like this is a really like advantageous position, even though right now it looks a little bit bare, let's say. So we think it's a good spot to kind of function as a hinge between this north and the south. We have a lot of hope that this is going to be something that will be built quickly and that will really have a positive impact. So these are just some images of this earlier proposal, which we're now in the midst of doing a redesign on. But the main idea remains the same in that we have this downstairs space. So there's a downstairs space which has a visual connection to the street and a visual connection to this backyard over here, and it's a multifunction space such that people can use it throughout the day, and then if they need it for events or they need it for something else, it could be also flexibly used in that way. This is a survey of the site. It's a flat site generally, and the one thing which is very, very interesting is that we have this 400-foot long rat tail on the back, which is where like a train used to actually go. There were train tracks coming from across the street. There's the Sweater Mill building across the street there, and the tracks used to run from there up Stewart and then down through this path. So that doesn't exist anymore, but we still have the vestige of that with this rat tail. So these are the plans. You can see that we have a nine-story building with a rooftop, and then there's a small structure on the rat tail, which is basically covering the parking. If you guys I guess we don't have time right now to go through the zoning analysis, but this is going to be shared with everybody, so you guys can go through this at your leisure. These are the plans. So this is the subterranean space over here. This is the cellar. To the left, you have all the mechanical rooms. The ground floor, you can see the double height space looking down over here with the big X's. This is the hotel lobby and some retail to the left over here. This is the second floor, which is currently contemplated as being community facility. There is a strong demand in this area for therapy type applications that the owners feel will both be good for the neighborhood and also complement the spa. Complement the hotel. So it's a spa type use with acupuncture, all sorts of holistic medicine type stuff. And we all think it's something that will be, warmly welcomed and also kind of a piece with the rest of the stuff going on in the neighborhood. We get to the hotel rooms on these next slides. So these are just very, very typical hotel rooms. There's nothing really special going on here. Just some sections, and then this is what we've accomplished so far with the building. So we basically excavated the entire site. The site is a Generation 2 brownfield. We've been able to maintain a track 1 to date. So we've completed 75% of this excavation. The portion that we haven't excavated is this center portion over here, section 4. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, we were kind of redesigning parts of it, so we decided to kind of hold off until that was done. And then number two, we were trying to combine the dewatering that we have to do over here with other building connection. So this took a huge amount of time to get approved, just because it's you have to get DEP, DCP, the Long Island well permit people, like everybody has to get on board. So it was a lot of coordination. So we said, let's just focus on getting everything else done, because it's not going to really slow us down construction wise. So we have 100% of the supportive excavation complete. Sheet piles, tangent piles, tiebacks. Then we're about 76 complete with that remediation. The only portion which still needs to be remediated is that area that is going to be dewatered in the very near future. This is how much of the foundation that we've done. We've done about 78% of the foundation footings. So again, everything that's not in that area that is going to be dewatered has been done, which is this green stuff. The foundation walls, the same story. Everything which is not in this future area to be dewatered. And we started to build the back half of this structure. The intent was to continue on with this structure, but when we looked at it from the construction logistics, it just didn't make sense to do so, because of the double height cellar space, we end up having these big beams that span and then land over here on either side of this space over here. So to mobilize the type of formwork that we would need to do such a thing, I mean, this is like very, very serious formwork. It's about 26-foot high ceilings. It just didn't make sense, to do part of it and then not do the whole thing. So right now, all of these foundations, everything has been set up for this double height space. All the foundations in the front, are also set up for this very, very particular hotel use. And these are some of the green features. And you guys have heard me speak about this before, but this is another project that we're pushing geothermal on. So we've already purchased the system, and this is a bespoke system for the hotel, and it's something which is going to tremendously reduce the energy usage. We might be able to use the hotel pool as a heat sink. So this is a really interesting project from the building sciences side, and we think that it's going to be something, that we could all be proud of, and that I think could be like a real model for other hotel development, and really anything that has a pool, because the use of the pool as a heat sink is something which drastically increases this efficiency, and also happens to give you a heated pool, which is obviously something desirable. And this is the timeline of the construction activity that we had to make for this presentation. not really the most interesting part. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. So let me know.
Thank you, Nick.
Sure, no.
Elkins?
I have a question, Del Teague. Why did you?
Dal, we have a list
Oh, sorry.
that I didn't call before. Elkins?
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, just to Tom's point earlier, like, I just don't feel like you guys are really presenting the full story. The city, changed the rules for zoning to not allow for hotels and industrial zones, and this community board supported it. And I don't really understand why you think we would approve this project, like, at all. It's not using an industrial space for industrial manufacturing purposes. We know that hotels fuel gentrification. This is a very targeted area for development like this. What is the community, the people that actually live and work in the area, getting from this? And you're trying to shift and say, like, well, we were going to do a movie screen, but now we're really just selling views of the skyline. It's like no one who lives and works here cares about you having views of the skyline for tourists coming to the neighborhood. So I'm trying to understand why you think we would approve this if there's no community give back at all.
Well, we're not necessarily asking for an approval. This is something which was approved and was, twice.
Okay, a letter of support.
Okay, well, look, I mean, this is just something we're just presenting this because I believe, Paul, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this is something that is part of the BSA case. So I'll let Paul speak to, to that rationale as to why, we would be seeking your support. But, this is just something where, it has been approved. And I think what you guys supported was actually doing some sort of special permits. I don't know that it's specifically disallowed.
Well, look, I think that the place to pick up on that is that, the law says that the Board of Standards and Appeals must approve our project if we have met the findings, and we have. You can see here that substantial construction has been complete. Something like $6 million have been spent, which represents substantial costs expended towards construction. It's highly unlikely that the Board of Standards and Appeals would say no to our request to extend.
Excuse me, you started with common law. The judge decides whether you're substantial or not you saying the law. You said common law at the beginning of this.
Wait your turn.
So, we're really here to inform you and to let you know what we have planned and what we're, at the Board of Standards and Appeals to request approval for. So, there isn't this isn't a discretionary permit, so there's nothing that we have. There's no community program here. This is, this is an investment property where we've invested money in a site to develop it and have met certain requirements in order to continue doing that development. We certainly welcome your comments for a better development, and to the extent that we can make changes that both meet community goals and that are doable from our perspective. We have a long-standing relationship with the neighborhood and are active in the neighborhood in many different areas, and welcome your constructive comments and criticism. And if Mr. Burrows would like to sue us, we can have a judge decide. But we expect to go to the Board of Standards and Appeals and just present this case that you're seeing before you now and meet the findings.
Well, just Tom, I'll just one more thing before you hop in. This is something that we've actually received a lot of support from the neighbors for, because before this was a very, very contaminated dump, and we can't really do anything here other than a commercial use. So everybody's very, very supportive of this. Everybody's been amazing helping us get this done. Like this is something that was a dangerous eyesore before. There were people camping out there. God knows what was going on over there, and now this is something which is going to become, God willing, like a very like a substantial anchor in this neighborhood that already has a lot of F&B, has a lot of interesting things going on. So these guys building this also, they're very substantial civic participants over here, and you'll be very happy to find out that what you're asking for is exactly what they do with almost every single other project they have. They are, to my knowledge, the most prolific builders of new manufacturing space all over all over Bushwick, and they have a much different philosophy than a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing over the past decade. These are people that want to build this neighborhood long term. You know, they want to bring in the light manufacturing, and maybe when we come back, we can have them present, and they could show you guys everything else that they're doing in the neighborhood, which is
Of
frankly
the
amazing.
buildings that they are involved with in the neighborhood, there are no other hotels. They're not a hotel developer. This is one site where they decided to build a hotel, and we're caught up in the change in regulations. And, you know, regardless of their opinions about, you know, whether or not there should be a special permit in place for hotels, they're in the middle of building one, and that's what we're here about tonight.
Okay, I would like the presenters to be briefer with their answers. Tom, I got your hand up on the board. I have people that's ahead of you that didn't speak before. And Paul, I'd like to know if you have any pictures to show us of your existing site or the work that you've done on it, how far you've gone with the site. Do you have anything on the site that you can show us on that?
Yes, we do. I believe Nick should have those to present. We have photography from the date that the regulation went into effect.
You know what? I don't have them on this laptop, and I'm not in my office, but I could bring them. But Miss Fuller, it's exactly what you see here. So when we show you the photos in May, it'll be like the reality of what this diagram shows.
I'm talking about as the site exists today. You said you started doing some work on it before.
It looks like this. I mean, like we have this much superstructure. You know, we have a big excavated hole. There's a bunch of supportive excavation.
Okay, bring the holes and let the committee see them.
Sure.
Brian?
Hi, thanks. So, to me, the BSA is a runaround to not have to do the special hotel permit. And if you read the text of the special hotel permit, it's all about use, context, and neighborhood. And I was a little concerned. You said critique your presentation. Your presentation used words about dead, nothing happening in this neighborhood. This site, 25 Stewart, is on the border. Flushing, you cross and you're like less than 5 blocks from Maria Hernandez Park. There's tons of residential there. Technically, I wonder why the other CB isn't here. And I feel like Dell should reach out and invite those people. Because again, this is a border area. It's really like the way this was presented, like this is sort of in the no man's land with nothing around, felt very false. And to me, it raises a whole lot of questions about why aren't we having an in-depth, like the special hotel permit is an in-depth discussion, and it feels like they're saying we're not even done making the plans yet. It feels like they're very much trying to get around having that in-depth discussion that would involve that other community board, that would give everyone time to talk and process this. To me, it feels like a runaround. And I would I don't know, like, I guess I don't know how you can say something that's like less than 5 blocks from Maria Hernandez needs to be invigorated. And I don't know.
We removed truckloads of car parts and hunking machinery and rotting cement. So it's less about the neighborhood and more about the site. So we believe this development will reinvigorate the site. And it's being a site in a neighborhood, it'll also have an effect on the neighborhood, which we think will be positive.
Yeah, well, and just to follow up on this, Ryan. So this site particularly is something which is kind of like a blight within the neighborhood. It's always been like there is like this division between Flushing North and South, and this like you have an opportunity here to connect the two in this area to kind of like strengthen the fabric of this neighborhood. So we think that this is something that that would function in the way that it's.
My question is there anything besides like time and money for the developers as a reason why this BSA application is being go for? If there's no benefit to the neighborhood to have it move forward fast tracked and have it circumvent a new zoning that you clearly, if you're still like working on plans on a daily basis and changing things, don't have it thought through when you were building and it stopped. I mean, again, I really think that there should be like direct answering of why this shouldn't have that in-depth investigation that special hotel permit requires. And again, this community board like is the one that pounded down the door and said it's needed. So I feel like we should be writing the BSA and say this is trying to circumvent all the work that we did. I really think there needs to be a better explanation, something more than money and time.
We're not,
You
we're
have a
not trying
main
to
meeting. You
circumvent
don't have to
everything.
answer right now.
Yeah, but I mean, just to be clear, we're not trying to circumvent anything. I mean, this is just the legal framework which exists, and we're just following the application procedure, you know?
Thank you. Tom Burrows?
I just would like to, they keep saying that they're thinking that this is a good idea for this community, that there's a need for spa services in this community. I want to know, is there a market study? Is there a business plan? Is there a hotel operator in their plans anywhere? Is this just a speculative building that's getting thrown up as fast as possible to circumvent the BSA and the special permit? Also, it seems like I don't know if it's 12 stories or 9 stories. It's way out of context, I would think, for that neighborhood, and how that's going to impact on that neighborhood of, small height residential buildings, as Ryan pointed out. And where are the elected officials from that neighborhood? What have they had to say about it? Has there been outreach to Evergreen or any of the surrounding community groups about the impact that this is going to have on that neighborhood? And they're building when the brownfield work isn't done. They're still designing, but they poured concrete. How did they get approved when they didn't have a final design? It's all about going around what they knew the special permit was coming. We've been pushing it for at least 5 years, and this is just an attempt to get around it. I think this needs to be looked into from all places, and to have 3 people from a law firm tell us what the law is not how the law works. You have different parties arguing different points, and if it's common law, then a judge decides, not just some lawyer who comes in from some high-paid law firm telling us volunteers on a community board that this is what the law is. That's not how it works. There needs to be more community input on this, and it needs to be more contextual, and it needs to reflect the community that absolutely exists there. And the fact that that was a dump site, why didn't you clean it up if you owned it? Why are we being told about all the garbage? You should have been maintaining that property.
Thank you, Tom. William Vega?
Thank you. I sit on the Euler Landmarks Land Use Committee. I feel we've been disrespected. They should have come to us first. And this presentation was supposed to be, and Madam Chair was very generous, be around 5 minutes. It's been much more. So I feel, again, we're being disrespected. I agree with others. This is going around, so thank you.
You're welcome. Dal?
William, they're here first because that's how we've done this in my experience in the past. Just that, like we would do any other land use, they come to the full board, the committee gets a sense of what the full board's thinking, then the committee asks them even more detailed questions, and we come back again to the full board. But I do think that I agree with you in terms of the disrespect. There are a number of us on the community board who are attorneys, and I will tell you, in my experience, the word substantial in and of itself implies that there's a subjective standard here. Substantial is not objective unless you have a particular mathematical calculation that is written in stone, and it's my understanding that's not the case. The other thing is to tell us that you don't need our approval, you're here to inform us. Well, maybe the process has changed since the last time we've done one of these applications. That's not my understanding. My understanding is BSA wants to know our opinion. And the other thing is I think that I would like to be able to have some contact with BSA before we meet at our land use committee, because I am concerned about the fact that this is circumventing the special permit process. So I also think that you've said that you've got tremendous support. I expect you're going to bring in writing all of that great support. And maybe you'll have people, maybe some electeds, maybe Leah will come with you to the committee and tell us what great support you've had. You're welcome to bring all of these people and show us all of this great support that you have, which you may have. I have no idea. You haven't shown us anything so far. So that's what I have to say for the time being.
Thank you, Dale. Deborah Scott. Deborah Scott, she's an attendee.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone else. Before I start, I wanted to say too, as a resident, I was outraged the way he approached our community board. I am a member of the community. I've also been a member of many community boards. And how dare he say that he's just informing us. We are the pillars, and where the community board rides, that's where approval is to get these types of things done. And where did he think that Maria Hernandez Park, that those people, I would like to see the surveys too, that he got approving this. This is unacceptable. These are these people that have this money to bring in these different types of buildings without the permission of our people. I'm just gonna stay there because I am just outraged when he came and he told us what he's here for, not asked us or permission, because community boards are supporting the people in the community, and he has to get approval from the people first, and disrespecting the board is not where you start. Sorry. So yes, Madam Chair, my name is Deborah Scott. I am a resident in Greenpoint. I've been here for the past 4 years. One of my concerns was the factory that's across the street. That factory has been contaminated, and not only contamination, but it's actually underground and a lot of toxicity. We were not, as residents, informed about them coming to do this. I guess they building up buildings on this land. I was concerned about, we have children in the park across the street every day that's drinking this water. I had someone that I know across the street on DuPont at the Senior Citizen Center that said their water was black. No notices went up. I'm really concerned because we have, this area is coming up like with all of these new residents and our children. Who puts up the notifications for this project across the street?
They are, but Deborah, we're talking about this item. If you have a special item that you want to speak on at some time at the board, please sign up for that particular.
I did sign in for that.
Okay, well, we'll call you when we get to your name to speak on that.
Okay, also, can I mention another? Oh, okay, so I can speak once you call my name for both of the items that I was concerned about, Madam Chair?
We got a long agenda. We got a lot of speakers speaking, and it determines how much time we take up on this item, whether you get 1 minute or 2 minutes when we call the speakers.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your
David
comment,
Needham,
Ms.
is that
Scott.
Rabbi
Apologize.
Needham? Is that
And
Rabbi Needham?
yes, I just, if you see
We
me,
can't hear you. We can't hear you.
you can't?
Now I can.
I tried to sign up as a panelist. I couldn't. I signed up as an attendee, and I don't know what the issue is that you can't hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, you
It's
hear
just
me?
that
Okay.
I just happened to go down to the attendees and I see your name.
Yeah,
So
you
I
see.
you.
Okay, and you hear me as well. Okay,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
do. Yeah. Andrew, the whole name is not spelled out. Andrew? Okay, I guess he's not. Is there any more questions on this item?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, was I unmuted?
sorry. I couldn't speak because I was muted, but I just wanted to mention I'm a member of the community here. I live off Morgan Avenue and often frequent the sort of Jefferson Street area. And in terms of what, like that particular corner, which is currently just kind of like a walled off area that doesn't really have much, I'd be happy to see like any sort of development there compared to what is there now. And a hotel project seems fine. I'd never heard of this project before, but I did just want to add a comment since I was listening, and that on that particular corner, I think any development would be better than what's there right now. And I'd especially appreciate the commercial and like tourism boon to the area. I mean, I think more business is probably good for a lot of the people there. That's all. Just wanted to give my 2 cents.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there any other questions on this item? No? Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Paul. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fuller.
You're quite welcome. Next item on the agenda is Bedford Avenue Associates.
Yes.
Okay.
Pardon me, Madam Chairman. Yes, Max Volkman. I'm the attorney for the applicant.
Chair, can I introduce why this is on?
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Okay, so everybody understands that whenever there's a application where there's more than 250 people that comes to the SLA committee, we ask that they present to the full board so that if anybody on the board has questions that they can get them. Also, this is a hotel that slipped in before the new regulations went into effect. So I'm hoping that they're also going to tell us about their hotel as well. Because really, I don't think anybody even knows anything about it. So the point was for them to present to the full board so everyone on the board knows what's going on, and then they'll come back to the committee because they're asking for a hotel liquor license. Okay, that's the point of this. So pay attention, and if you got questions both about the hotel and how many licenses and where they could be drinking outside and all that kind of stuff, because there's outdoor space, there's rooftop space, there's all kinds of stuff, I'm assuming. So ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, you may begin.
Thank you for that introduction, Tom. And I just wanted to reiterate what Tom said to set it apart from the application that you just heard. Will be before Tom's committee later this month to talk about the liquor license application. So it's nice to see everyone. My name is Max Bookman. I'm an attorney at the law firm Pazetsky and Bookman. Our firm is frequently before Brooklyn Community Board 1 with liquor license applications. With me is Megan Boberts. She is with Moxie Hotel. And yes, Tom, we did intend on telling you a little bit about the hotel, and that's what I plan to do right now. So this is, first of all, Moxie. What is it? It's a hotel brand by Marriott Hotels. They have several throughout the United States as well as in New York City. So this will not be the first, second, third, or even fourth Moxie in New York City. It will be the first in Brooklyn. However, it's on this one's going to be on Bedford between South 4th and South 5th Street. Construction is well underway. And to Tom's point, yes, this was before the special use permit law was enacted. They're hired, in addition to operating the hotel, and they're, like I said, experienced hotel operators, very corporate hotel operators. They're hiring an experienced hospitality group as their partner. They're also on the voted necessary to answer questions. They have experience managing the F&B programs in hotels in New York, the Freehand Hotel, Los Angeles, Chicago, just to name a few. This is going to be a 216-key hotel, and we did submit to Tom's committee a detailed questionnaire answering all of the nuts and bolts of the application. I see Tom shrugging. I'll just go through some of those now, I think, which might be helpful for the whole board.
You'll have to send it again. That's all.
Okay, no problem. We'll make sure that you have it. So since I'm seeing that you don't have it, let me just cover some of the details that typically matter in the SLA and DCA review committee. So because it's a hotel liquor license, there's a restaurant on the ground floor. It's part of the hotel, and it's a full service restaurant that will be operated. There are 2 outdoor spaces, and that's always very important and subject of much focus. So there is one outdoor space that we're calling the garden, which is also on the ground floor. You have to sort of walk to the hotel lobby to get to it. It's going to be like an extension of the hotel lobby. There will be food service there as well. There'll be a food menu that you could order from the restaurant, so you can eat there as well as sit and have drinks. No bar in the outdoor garden space, however. So it's not a bar scene. You can't go anywhere to stand up and buy a drink. We're not building a bar in the garden area. So it's a seated area where, like I said, you could sit, you could read, you could have a drink if you like, you could order food from a menu that the restaurant will prepare. It's an 11-story hotel, and the other outdoor space is on the 11th story. So there is an 11th floor lounge. That's an indoor lounge, but it does have a terrace, and that terrace will close at 11 p.m., which is consistent with what your guidelines are. That's 7 days a week. The garden, I should have mentioned, will actually close at 10 p.m., which does an hour better than what your guidelines ask for. The terrace, like the garden, there's no bar in the outdoor portion, so there's no people standing around waiting for drinks at a bar, which I know is something important. They've done traffic and sound studies. They've hired independent outside folks to do traffic and sound studies, names that people on Tom's committee are familiar with. Al Feierstein from Acoustalog to do the sound study, Sam Schwartz to do the traffic study. And they issued recommendations. We included those in the packet that we'll make sure everybody gets before the committee meeting again. And they're going to follow the recommendations of those reports, which we can get into if anyone has questions about that. They've also hired a Capolino to engage in community outreach. So Ashley Capolino is here on the call. If there's any specific questions about the outreach, but just to summarize, they did 2 information sessions, which they did flyering in advance on all neighboring blocks to let people know that they're having an information session about the liquor license. The first one was not well attended. The second one was better attended. They also met with all the elected officials. And they also have done outreach and are in talks with St. Nick's Alliance to discuss job training and local hiring, which we know is something important. So that's